The rain fell hard that night, the kind of rain that made the streets shine like dark mirrors. Daniel walked quickly through the narrow road. His old coat pulled tight against the cold wind. He was tired from work, his boots heavy with mud, but something inside pushed him forward, toward the old orphanage at the end of the street. The orphanage stood like a broken shadow, its walls cracked and its roof leaking. Few people came here and even fewer children ever left. Daniel had heard whispers about it, strange stories, rumors about children who never found homes. Tonight, for reasons he could not explain, he felt drawn there. When he entered, the smell of damp wood and dust filled his nose. The caretaker, an old alien woman with silver eyes, looked at him with suspicion. "You want a child?" she asked softly. Her voice heavy with doubt. Daniel nodded, though even he wasn't sure why. He had no wife, no family, and barely enough money to care for himself. Still, his heart felt empty, and he thought maybe, just maybe, he could give a lonely child a chance at life. The caretaker led him down a narrow hall, candles burning weakly on the walls. Shadows danced across the floor. Daniel glanced inside the rooms he passed. He saw small alien children with hollow eyes, some staring at him, some too weak to care. But at the last room, the caretaker stopped. She hesitated, then whispered, "You don't want these ones." Inside sat two small figures, twins. They looked no older than 6 or 7. Their skin was pale, almost glowing faintly in the dim light. Their eyes, wide and strange, shimmered with a silver hue that seemed too deep for children. They sat close together, holding hands. As if afraid the world might tear them apart, Daniel frowned. Why not them? The caretaker's eyes darkened. They are not normal. No one wants them, not even the other children. They whispered to each other in the night, and strange things happen around them. Doors open when they should be locked. Lights flicker without fire. Some say they are cursed. The twins looked at him, silent but steady. Their gaze made his heart beat faster, not with fear, but with something he could not name. It was as if they were searching his soul. Waiting for his answer, Daniel stepped into the room. The caretaker hissed in warning, but he ignored her. He knelt before the twins. "Hello," he said gently. His voice cracked, but he forced a smile. The girl twin tilted her head, her silver eyes glowing faintly. The boy twin squeezed her hand and whispered something in a language Daniel did not understand. "Do you have names?" Daniel asked. The girl spoke first, her voice soft and clear. "We are called nothing here," the boy added. "But we remember a name, though we are not allowed to say it." A shiver ran through Daniel. He could feel the weight of their words. Heavy with secrets, the caretaker pulled at his arm. "Take another child, any other. These two will bring you nothing but sorrow." Daniel shook his head. His heart refused to leave them. He saw their thin faces, their hollow cheeks, and yet their eyes held strength, courage, and something far beyond their years. "I'll take them," he said firmly. The caretaker gasped. "Both?" "You cannot." "I said both," Daniel interrupted, his voice stronger than he expected. "They belong together. And they belong with me now." The twins exchanged a look, their small hands tightening around each other. For the first time, Daniel saw a flicker of relief, almost joy in their strange silver eyes. That night, paperwork was rushed. The caretaker muttered warnings, but Daniel signed every paper with steady hands. As he led the twins out of the orphanage, the rain had stopped. The moon broke through the clouds, and for a moment, its pale light touched their glowing skin, making them look almost royal, almost untouchable. As they walked down the empty street, Daniel felt a strange chill. He glanced back at the orphanage. He thought he saw shadows moving in the windows, watching him. But when he blinked, the shadows were gone. The twins stayed silent beside him, their footsteps small but steady. Then, without looking up, the girl whispered, "Thank you." "Human." Daniel's heart tightened. He didn't know why, but he felt as if those words carried more weight than he could understand. The boy finally spoke, his voice low. "They will come for us now." Daniel froze. "Who will?" The boy just looked ahead, his silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "The ones who know our blood." The wind blew cold across the street, and for the first time, Daniel felt that this was more than an act of kindness. It was the beginning of something far bigger, something dangerous. The twins were not just children abandoned by the world. They were something else, something the galaxy itself might be waiting for. And Daniel, simple, tired, ordinary Daniel, had just stepped into their destiny. Daniel's apartment was small, old and not made for 3 people. The paint was peeling. The floor creaked under every step and the heater rattled like an old machine. Still, for the first time in years, it felt alive. 2 small pairs of shoes sat by the door. 2 soft voices filled the silence. The twins didn't speak much during the day. They stayed close to each other, quiet, their eyes watching everything with strange attention. Daniel tried to make them comfortable. He gave them his bed while he slept on the worn sofa. He cooked simple meals, bread and soup, though they ate very little. At night, things became different. The building grew quiet, neighbors sleeping behind thin walls, and that was when Daniel began to hear it. Whispers, low and flowing like wind through broken glass. The first night he thought it was a dream. He woke to the sound of the twins murmuring, their voices rising and falling in a rhythm. He sat up and listened. His heart beat faster. It was not any language he knew, not human, not from any world he had heard of. The girl's voice was soft, almost like a song. The boy answered with sharp, quick words. The sound filled the apartment, though their mouths barely moved. Sometimes the light bulb flickered above them. Sometimes the air grew heavy. As if the room itself was holding its breath, Daniel lay back, telling himself it was only children talking in their sleep. But he couldn't shake the chill that spread down his arms. The second night was worse. He woke again, this time to see the twins sitting upright on the bed. Their eyes glowed faint silver. Their small hands were pressed together. Their voices were louder. The strange words echoing softly against the walls, he whispered. Kids? Both turned their heads at the same time, their silver eyes locking on him. For a moment, Daniel felt frozen, like prey caught by predators. Then the girl smiled faintly, her head tilting. Go back to sleep, human, she said gently. Daniel swallowed hard. What are you doing? Remembering, the boy answered, his voice calm but heavy. We must not forget. Daniel couldn't ask more. His throat was dry. He lay back, staring at the cracked ceiling, listening to their whispers until his eyes closed again. By the third night, the neighbors had noticed. A man from across the hall banged on Daniel's door. His eyes were bloodshot, his face angry. Keep your kids quiet, he snapped. They don't sound right. They keep us awake, they scare my wife, Daniel apologized. But when the man left, his warning stayed heavy in Daniel's mind. That evening, Daniel tried to talk to the twins. He sat them down at the small wooden table. Look, he said, trying to keep his voice calm. You two are safe here, but I need to understand. What are you whispering about at night? The twins exchanged a glance. Their hands stayed locked together. The girl finally answered. We whisper so we don't forget who we are. Who are you? Daniel asked softly. The boy's eyes glowed faintly. We are not allowed to say. Not yet. Daniel leaned forward, his voice firm. You need to tell me if someone is after you. The girl smiled sadly. Someone is always after us. Before Daniel could speak, the lights flickered again. This time he swore he saw symbols. Bright, glowing marks shimmer across their skin for just a moment. Shapes like crowns, like flowing lines of ancient script. Then they were gone, as if swallowed by the dark. Daniel rubbed his eyes, whispering to himself. I'm losing my mind. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat on the sofa, pretending to doze. But his eyes stayed half open. He watched the twins carefully. The rain tapped against the window, and soon the whispers began again. Only this time something changed. The air grew cold. Frost touched the glass, though the heater still rattled. The girl's voice rose stronger, like she was chanting. The boy's voice followed, commanding. The flickering light formed strange shadows that seemed to crawl along the walls. Daniel's chest tightened. He couldn't move, couldn't even call out. Then suddenly silence. The twins both looked at him, as if they had known he was awake all along. You cannot stop it, the girl said softly. Stop what? Daniel whispered. The truth, the boy answered, his voice steady. It will find us. For a long moment, none of them moved. Only the rain kept falling outside. The next morning, Daniel walked to work like a man carrying a secret too heavy. The neighbors whispered now, too. Some said the new children were strange, cursed. Others swore they saw silver light under Daniel's door at night. When Daniel returned home that evening, the twins were waiting for him by the window, staring out at the street, their faces calm but their eyes sharp. The boy pointed at the shadow of a man standing far away at the corner. They are already watching, he said. Daniel followed his gaze. But when he blinked, the figure was gone. A chill settled in his bones. He realized the whispers were not just children's games, they were warnings. They were memories, and they were pulling him into something far bigger than his quiet life. As the night came again, Daniel locked the door and sat near the twins. He was no longer just their guardian, he was now their protector, though he did not yet know from what. And deep inside, Daniel felt a fear growing, not of the twins but of the world outside. The whispers were not only for remembering, they were for surviving. The days passed slowly, but Daniel could feel the weight of change pressing against his small apartment. The twins were no ordinary children. He had known it from the first night. But now he began to see signs he could not ignore. They ate very little but never seemed weak. Their eyes glowed faintly even in darkness, and sometimes, when they touched the walls or held each other's hands, the air around them shimmered faintly, as if something unseen was trying to break through. Daniel told himself not to be afraid. They were just children, fragile, quiet, and in need of protection. Yet at night, when the whispers came, he would sit awake, staring at the faint glow of their skin, feeling his chest tighten with questions he could not answer. One morning, everything changed. The twins sat quietly at the table, their fingers tracing invisible patterns on the wooden surface. Daniel made soup, the smell of boiled vegetables filling the room. As he placed the bowl in front of them, he noticed it. On the girl's wrist, faint blue lines glowing like fire beneath her skin. "Your arm," Daniel whispered. The girl quickly pulled her sleeve down. Her brother's eyes darkened. "You weren't supposed to see," he said softly. Daniel's voice trembled. "What are those markings? Are you sick, hurt?" The girl shook her head. "Not sickness, not hurt. It is our blood, our truth." Daniel leaned closer, his voice urgent. "What truth?" The boy stared at him, his silver eyes cold and too old for his small face. "We are marked, human. Our blood is not like others. That is why they hunt us." Daniel's stomach nodded. He tried to speak, but before he could, a sharp knock rattled the door. His body tensed. He rarely had visitors. When he opened it, an alien doctor stood there. A woman with pale skin and sharp eyes. She was one of the few who treated poor workers in the district. Daniel had called her days ago, worried about the twins' strange eating habits. "They need to be checked," Daniel explained nervously. Letting her in, the doctor examined the twins, listening to their small hearts, checking their thin arms. At first she said nothing. But when she rolled up the girl's sleeve, her face froze. The glowing markings pulsed faintly, spreading across her wrist and up her arm like living light. The doctor gasped, dropping her instrument. This is not possible," she whispered. Her hands trembled as she touched the boy's neck, finding the same faint lines beneath his skin. "What is it?" Daniel demanded, his voice sharp with fear. The doctor's eyes widened. "Do you not know? These markings belong only to one house, one bloodline. It is royal, ancient, long thought dead." Daniel shook his head in disbelief. "Royal? You mean kings, rulers?" The doctor nodded, her face pale. "They are heirs, children of a throne lost in war. If the wrong people find them—" She stopped, her eyes darting to the window as if someone might be listening. The twins stayed silent, watching calmly as if none of this surprised them. Daniel felt the air grow heavy. "What do I do?" he asked. The doctor's voice dropped to a whisper. "Hide them, protect them, because already the hunters will be searching. Royal blood cannot stay hidden for long." She left quickly. Refusing payment, her steps hurried down the hallway. Daniel shut the door tight, his heart pounded in his chest. He looked at the twins, his mouth dry. "Is it true?" he whispered. "Are you really?" The girl nodded softly. "We remember the halls of light, the crown of stars. They called us heirs before the war," the boy added. "But the war took everything. Our family, our throne, our name. That is why we whisper, to remember what was stolen." Daniel pressed his hands over his face. He was just a worker, a man with nothing, and yet now he carried a secret that could shake worlds. That night the danger arrived. He woke to a sound at the window. The faint scrape of metal against glass. His breath caught. He crept to the corner, his old knife in his hand. Outside, through the cracked blinds, he saw shadows moving, tall armored figures with glowing eyes. The twins were already awake, standing side by side. Their silver eyes calm, the boy whispered. "They have found us." The girl took his hand, her small voice soft but steady. "It begins." The glass cracked suddenly, a clawed hand pushing through. Daniel grabbed the twins and pulled them back. His heart thundered. He shouted, "Run to the back!" The door burst open, wood splintering, and 3 armored alien soldiers stormed inside. Their armor shimmered black, their faces hidden behind masks. One pointed at the twins. "By order of the Sovereign, surrender the heirs." Daniel stood between them, knife trembling in his hand. His voice cracked but strong. "You're not taking them." The soldiers laughed. A cruel metallic sound. One stepped forward, raising his weapon. But in that moment, the markings on the twins' skin flared like fire, bright blue and silver. The air pulsed, shaking the walls. The soldiers staggered back in shock. The girl's voice echoed with strange power. "We are not yours to claim," the boy added, his tone sharp as steel. "Our blood remembers, and it will not bow." The soldiers hesitated. Fear flashing in their eyes, Daniel didn't wait. He grabbed the twins' hands and ran through the back door, into the rain-soaked alleys of the city. His heart pounded as shouts rose behind them. For the first time, Daniel knew the truth. These were no ordinary children. They were heirs to a lost throne, and the galaxy would stop at nothing to find them. And now, by choice or by fate, he was their protector. The rain fell harder as Daniel pulled the twins through the narrow alleys. His breath came fast, every step echoing against the wet stone. Behind them, the shouts of soldiers grew louder. "Heavy boots striking the ground like thunder, faster!" Daniel urged, though the twins did not complain. Their small legs moved quickly, their silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The boy whispered something in his sister's ear, and she nodded, calm even as danger closed in. They turned a corner only to find more soldiers waiting. Their black armor shimmered in the streetlight. Weapons raised, one stepped forward, voice cold. "Surrender the heirs, human, and we may let you live." Daniel's hand tightened around the rusty knife he carried. His heart screamed to run, but his legs refused to move. He stepped in front of the twins, his arms spread wide. "You're not taking them," he shouted. His voice breaking, the soldiers laughed, cruel and sharp. "You are nothing, human, just dirt. Step aside before you die." But Daniel stood firm. His whole life he had been weak, forgotten, a man with no purpose. Yet now 2 small hands clung to his coat, and for the first time he felt strength rise inside him. When the soldiers advanced, Daniel swung his knife wildly. The blade scraped against armor, useless. A soldier shoved him to the ground, pain shooting through his ribs. The twins screamed. In that moment something strange happened. The markings on the twins' skin blazed with light. Blue and silver lines spread across their arms and faces, glowing like fire. The air trembled, a shockwave rippling through the alley. The soldiers staggered, their weapons flickering. "The blood! It awakens!" one shouted in fear. The girl raised her small hand, her voice ringing like a bell. "We are not yours," the boy added, his tone sharp. "Touch us again, and you will fall." The soldiers hesitated, fear flashing behind their masks. Daniel pushed himself up, blood on his lip. His mind screamed at him to grab the children and run. He pulled them down another alley, their light fading as they moved. But the soldiers were not done. They regrouped, their leader snarling, "Hunt them! Dead or alive, the Sovereign must have them." Daniel's chest burned as he led the twins deeper into the city. They darted through shadows, climbed broken fences, and squeezed between walls. The rain hid their steps, but the sound of armored boots echoed close behind. They reached an old storage yard filled with rusted crates and machines. Daniel pulled the twins inside, hiding behind a pile of scrap metal. His chest heaved. He pressed a finger to his lips, begging them to stay silent. The twins huddled close, their hands locked together, their glowing eyes dimmed. But Daniel could feel the strange energy still pulsing in them. He whispered, "Why do they want you?" "What are you, really?" The boy met his gaze, calm despite the fear. "We told you, we are heirs. Our blood is the key. If they capture us, the galaxy will kneel to their sovereign," the girl added softly. "And if we are free, the galaxy may rise again." Daniel's stomach tightened. He wanted to ask more, but footsteps cut through the rain. Soldiers entered the yard, searching. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. Daniel gripped his knife tighter. Though it felt useless, his heart pounded. Sweat mixing with the rain on his face, he thought, "If they find us, I'll die before I let them take the twins." One soldier passed close, his heavy boots splashing in a puddle. Daniel held his breath. The twins stayed still, their eyes shut. Their glowing faded completely, hiding their presence, but then a mistake. Daniel's foot slipped against the wet metal. The sound echoed. The soldier turned, shouting, "Here!" They charged, weapons raised. Daniel stood up, knife in hand. He shouted at the twins, "Run!" The girl cried, "No! We will not leave you!" The boy's eyes flared with sudden light. "Protect him!" The markings on their skin exploded with brilliance, filling the yard with blinding light. The soldiers cried out, their visors shattering. Weapons sparked and died in their hands. The ground shook, metal crates toppling. Daniel shielded his eyes, his body shaking as the force rushed through the air. When the light faded, 3 soldiers lay unconscious on the ground. Their armor cracked, others staggered. "Too afraid to move closer," the leader hissed. "They are too dangerous, pull back." "Report to the Sovereign." In seconds, the soldiers retreated into the storm, leaving the yard silent except for the rain. Daniel turned to the twins, his heart racing. He dropped the knife, his knees weak. "What did you just do?" The girl whispered, "We remembered a little piece of what we once were." The boy added, "But it is only the beginning, human. The more they push, the more we awaken." Daniel sat heavily on the wet ground, his chest aching. He stared at them, 2 small children glowing faintly in the dark. And for the first time, he realized this was not just about hiding anymore, this was war. He closed his eyes, whispering to himself, "What have I gotten into?" The girl placed her tiny hand on his, her voice soft but strong. "You are not alone." "Protector," the boy nodded, silver eyes burning. "Together, we will fight." And though the night was cold, though the storm raged, Daniel felt a strange warmth in his chest. For the first time he understood this was his purpose, and he would not let them go. The storm carried into the next day, gray clouds choking the sun. Daniel kept the twins hidden in an abandoned storage shed at the edge of the city. The air smelled of rust and mold, but it was safe for now. He paced back and forth, his heart heavy. Every sound outside made him jump. Every shadow looked like soldiers returning. The twins sat quietly, their silver eyes following him, calm but watchful. "We can't stay here," Daniel muttered, his voice low. "They'll keep looking. They won't stop until they find you." The boy nodded. "That is true," the girl added softly. "But we cannot run forever." Daniel ran a hand through his damp hair. "I need help, someone who knows how to hide you. Someone I can trust." The name came to his mind, Marcus. An old friend. He and Daniel had worked together years ago. Marcus knew the undercity tunnels, the kind of places even soldiers avoided. If anyone could help them escape the search, it was him. That night, Daniel led the twins through quiet streets until they reached a broken tavern. Marcus lived above it. Daniel knocked hard, his chest tight with both hope and fear. The door opened. Marcus stood there, broad-shouldered, his beard thick. His eyes widened when he saw Daniel with 2 children. "You?" he whispered. "And kids? What trouble are you in now?" Daniel stepped inside quickly, shutting the door behind them. "Please, I need your help," he said, his voice raw. "These children, they're being hunted. I can't explain everything, but I swear, they're innocent." Marcus frowned, looking at the twins. His eyes narrowed at their strange glow, but he said nothing. Instead, he poured Daniel a drink. "You always did find trouble," he muttered. "But if soldiers are after you, that's worse than anything. Tell me, what are they worth?" Daniel shook his head sharply. "They're not worth money, Marcus. They're worth more than that. I just need safe passage. Somewhere they won't be found." Marcus tapped the glass on the table, his eyes sharp. "Safe passage costs, you know that." Daniel clenched his fists. "I have nothing, Marcus, only my word, please." "They're children." For a long moment, Marcus stared at him, then sighed. "Fine, you were my friend once. I'll help you." Relief washed over Daniel. He felt the twins' small hands grip his coat. He looked down at them, whispering, "See, we'll be safe." But in the corner of the room, Marcus's communicator blinked faintly. He had already sent a silent message. The journey through the tunnels began at midnight. Marcus carried a lantern, the light casting long shadows across the dripping walls. The air was damp and cold, the smell of earth strong. "This way," Marcus said gruffly. Leading them deeper, Daniel stayed close behind. The twins in the middle, their footsteps echoed softly. Daniel whispered, "How far?" Marcus grunted. "Not far, there's an old chamber. Forgotten even by the city guards, you can hide there until things calm down." The girl tilted her head. Her silver eyes sharp, she leaned toward her brother, whispering, "Do you feel it?" The boy nodded, his voice low. "Yes, danger walks with us. Daniel frowned. What are you saying? The boy looked up at him, calm. He is leading us to the hunters. Daniel's stomach dropped. He stopped in his tracks. Marcus? Before Marcus could answer, a loud metallic echo shook the tunnel. Soldiers emerged from the shadows, black armor glinting in the lantern light. Weapons raised, Marcus's face hardened. I had no choice, Daniel. They offered me enough to leave this rotten life behind. I told you, safe passage costs. Daniel's heart burned with betrayal. You sold us? Marcus shrugged, though his eyes carried guilt. It's survival, old friend. You can't fight them. You never could. The soldier stepped forward, their leader raising his weapon. Hand over the heirs, he commanded. The human may live if he obeys. Daniel spread his arms. Stepping in front of the twins again, his voice broke with fury. You'll take them over my dead body. The soldiers laughed, weapons humming with deadly light. Marcus looked away, unable to meet Daniel's eyes. The twins stepped forward, their small hands glowing faintly. The boy's voice rang through the tunnel. We warned you. The girl's silver eyes blazed. Our blood will not bow. The markings on their skin erupted in blue fire. The tunnel walls trembling. The soldiers staggered as the ground cracked beneath their feet. Lantern light shattered into pieces, plunging the tunnel into glowing chaos. Daniel grabbed a broken pipe from the ground. Swinging with all his strength, he struck one soldier's helmet. Sparks flying, the twins raised their hands. A wave of force blasting another soldier into the wall. Marcus shouted in fear, What are they? Daniel's voice roared over the chaos. They're more than you could ever understand. One by one, the soldiers fell, blinded by light. Crushed by the collapsing tunnel, Daniel pulled the twins through the rubble, coughing as dust filled the air behind them. Marcus screamed as falling stones buried him in darkness. His betrayal ended where it began, in the tunnels. Daniel and the twins stumbled out into the night air. Gasping, the city loomed above them, silent and dangerous. Rain washed the dust from their faces. The boy looked up at Daniel, calm despite the battle. You see now, he said. No one can be trusted, the girl added softly. Only you, human. Only you stand between us and the darkness. Daniel stared at them, his chest aching with both fear and pride. He had lost a friend, but gained something greater, purpose. And as thunder rolled across the sky, he swore to himself, no more running, no more trusting the wrong people. If the galaxy wants these children, it will have to go through me. The storm had passed, but the city felt darker than before. Daniel led the twins through the ruined alleys, his body aching from the fight in the tunnels. His ribs burned with every breath, but he didn't slow down. The twins walked beside him, small and silent, their silver eyes glowing faintly in the night. They found shelter inside a broken temple at the edge of the city. The roof was half collapsed, vines crawling over stone pillars. The air smelled of dust and old fire. Daniel lit a small flame to keep them warm. His hands trembled as he held the match. The twins didn't seem afraid. Instead, they looked around with calm wonder. Their eyes traced the walls, the carvings, the broken statues. The girl touched one stone column, her fingers brushing strange symbols carved into the surface. Suddenly, the stone pulsed with faint blue light. Daniel froze. What did you just do? The boy stepped closer, his hand joining hers. The entire wall shimmered, glowing symbols spreading across the surface like veins of fire. It remembers us, the boy whispered. His voice deep with meaning. The girl nodded. This place was made for us. The ground shook softly, and a hidden doorway opened in the back of the temple. Dust and stones fell, revealing a narrow stairway leading downward. Daniel's heart raced. What is this place? The girl turned her glowing eyes toward him. A memory, human. Buried long ago, but waiting for us to return. They descended into the hidden chamber. The air grew colder, walls alive with glowing markings. The path opened into a vast underground hall, larger than anything Daniel had ever seen. The ceiling sparkled with crystals, casting pale light across ancient thrones carved of stone. The twins walked forward as if they had been here before. Their steps sure, their faces calm. Daniel followed, feeling smaller with each step. At the center of the hall stood a great circle of stone, carved with symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. The twins stepped into the circle, and the markings on their skin flared in answer. Blue and silver light spread across the chamber. The thrones glowed, the walls hummed. Daniel shielded his eyes. The air was thick with power. He whispered, What is happening? The girl's voice echoed, though her lips barely moved. The bloodline is recognized, the boy added. The throne remembers its heirs. Daniel's knees weakened. He could barely believe it, the orphans he had taken in, the strange children no one wanted, were now standing in a chamber that treated them like kings and queens. Ancient guardians emerged from the walls, stone figures breaking free, their eyes burning with light. They knelt before the twins, their voices booming, "We serve the crown.